Time to rock and roll!
Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. The new Dr. Boom's Incredible Inventions Min expansion is set to make a splash in Hearthstone.
The new cards incorporate many mechanics from the past, which gave me a pleasant feeling of nostalgia. I got a lot of positive emotions exploring the new effects, but as always, not all of them will be useful for deck building.
In this video you will find a short review of all the new cards. Using our benchmark, we will try to measure the potential power of cards and determine how they correspond to the current power creep in Hearthstone.
This is how the utility ratio benchmark works. We separate the card effect into components according to the basic game standard. Then we determine the maximum and minimum nominal value of the card and the probability of receiving them in cases of full implementation of the effect or failure. To find out the utility ratio, the algorithm divides the average between nominal maximum and minimum values by the card's actual mana cost. If the resulting points is 1, then the nominal cost of the effects fully corresponds to the actual cost of the card. This means that the card fully corresponds to the basic level of Hearthstone.
Let's start with one of the most controversial cards. Pro Gamer is a draw by type but affects both players and may have negative consequences.
Effect will offer to play rock paper scissors with your opponent. This mechanic reminds me of the King's Elic effect from the Grand Tournament, but only in this case. Winning comes with a prize of drawing 2 cards from the deck, which is equivalent to the base effect of Arcane Intellect with a nominal cost of 3 mana. If the opponent wins, he will receive an advantage that will resemble the Naturalize effect. Increasing the cards in your opponent's hand can directly affect your victory. The chances of winning are always equal. Thus, with a 50% probability you can get the minimum value, which will be equivalent to -1 mana crystal per 2 mana invested. If you win, the maximum value will be 6 mana crystals, which is too much of an advantage for a 2 mana card. Based on the proportion of the 2 scenarios and the actual cost of the card, the utility ratio will be slightly higher than 1. This means that this card meets the 2014 baseline standards. This is a great example that demonstrates how one of the game's balance methods works. The player's task is to find a use for the card in which the negative consequences will be minimized or even turned into an advantage. For example, the card can find use in mill strategies or in some very aggressive archetypes that do not care about the number of cards in the opponent's hand.
Wave of Nostalgia created to increase content on Traldan's channel. The card is a degraded version of the Stormbringer as it applies to the entire board. In general, in this mini-set, many mechanics return to us from the Boomsday expansion. We have no idea how to determine the nominal value of this effect. Most likely, if this spell existed in classic times, it could have cost 6 mana. The ratio of nominal value to actual mana cost gives us a card that almost meets the basic Hearthstone standard. Despite the insignificant utility ratio, the card can be a very good tool for fun and memes.
Safety Expert is a very weak 10 mana card. Shuffling 3 bombs into your opponent's deck is equivalent to the Mind Blast spell. But what is the probability that the enemy will activate all 3 bombs before the end of the match? Unfortunately, Warrior received cards with very little intended utility.
The Part Scrapper spell casts Mind Blast on your hero and makes the next mech cheaper by 5 mana. Most likely, the spell was created to reduce the cost of Safety Expert so that you can use the card on the 5th or 7th turn. In this scenario, the card has significantly more potential, but the card is very situational. In order to be able to play it, you must first obtain armor, which means you will need additional resources. Explodoneer is another way to add bombs to your opponent's deck. You are guaranteed to shuffle 1 bomb, but you will only benefit if the bomb explodes. In theory, the effect of the card allows you to shuffle an infinite number of bombs into your opponent's deck, but it is unlikely that the opponent will ignore the creature for a long time.
Rocket Hopper is a very unusual card that our algorithm may underestimate. Developers extremely rarely create creatures with stats that do not correspond to their cost. You can cheat the mana curve and summon a creature that can immediately deal damage to your opponent's minions on the 5th turn, but you will actually have to miss the next turn due to the overload effect. This fact conditionally balances the card, but at the same time, you can damage the enemy's minion, while surviving and completely ignoring the overload effect if you destroy your opponent on the next turn. In this case, you can get the maximum benefit. The main question is only the potential low scenario of such a possibility. Delayed Product is a highly unusual spell that is very reminiscent of Free from Amber from the Ngoro era. The 4 mana effect consists of 2 components: the Discover mechanic and summoning a creature for 8 mana. The downside is that the minion goes dormant for 2 turns. In matches against aggressive archetypes, there is a chance that you will not live to awaken. In this case, your benefit will be 0 mana, and we estimate the probability of such a scenario to be extremely high. But in matchups against control archetypes, you can gain a very effective 6th turn by skipping turn 4.
Return Policy is a very strange spell for Demon Hunter. In a vacuum, the card has extremely low utility. To make this tool competitive, players will have to find compelling interactions with other cards.
The Puppet Theater location is an analog of the very old Convert spell, but unlike the original, you will separate the effect from the creature's body, which means your target should be minions with a powerful battle cry, death rattle, or with Titan mechanic. Your real benefit will depend on the power of the effect. There are plenty of cards with crazy effects in modern Hearthstone, so we've given this effect a nominal value of 4 mana. It's funny, but the original card looks crazy as it retains the original stats while reducing the cost.
Funhouse Mirror is a stripped-down version of the legendary Soul Mirror spell. This card is very flexible. You can summon a copy of an enemy creature, deal damage and leave them both alive but in a very vulnerable state, which is similar in concept to the Reverberations effect. Or kill the enemy threat this way. In addition, you can benefit from the creature's death rattle. Bargain Bin is an analog of the rigged fair game secret. Despite the unimpressive utility ratio, the card definitely has huge potential since you are likely to draw 2 cards. But in some cases, you can only count on 1 card if your deck runs out of one of the types of cards, for example weapons. Delayed activation always has a chance that the effect will not be activated. It's also worth noting that the card draw effect has a hidden increased utility compared to other effects.
Next on the list is Toyrantus, who stole his ability from Omega cards from the Boomsday expansion. Your utility ratio will directly depend on whether you manage to activate the bonus effect or not. Given the current meta game, we estimate your chances of surviving until turn 10 to be 40%, and this is an overly optimistic scenario. Under these circumstances, the card meets the modern standard of power, but as a late game tool this result is not impressive.
The return of Dr. Boom in the form of the Replicator Inator doesn't look too impressive. The legendary minion creates copies of creatures with the same attack. The main advantage of the card is that you get 2 of your own versions. I assume that you can use the duplication effect a maximum of 2 times per turn, but the probability of obtaining maximum value will not be high. The miniaturized version of the card has more combo potential since we have a large amount of synergy with cards with 1/1 stats. The card looks very interesting as an experiment, but players will need to find broken synergies to make the card work. The buy 1 get 1 freeze spell is a direct analog of Reverberations. The effect consists of 2 basic components: Freezing Potion for 0 mana and Faceless Manipulator for 5 mana plus an additional mana crystal for summing the effects. As a result, we get a card that is twice as good as the basic standards of the game.
Darkmoon Magician resembles Enchanted Cauldron but has a repetitive effect and can theoretically self-replicate an infinite number of times. Due to the complete unpredictability of the outcome, your benefit can vary significantly from negative to positive depending on the number of spells cast and their influence. We assume that in the best case, you will be able to cast 5 random spells, which in total will bring you a benefit of 10 mana crystals.
Malfunction is a variation of many cards with a similar effect. The card deals bonus damage when used in a deck without creatures. Maximum effect is the same as using 2 copies of Arcane Missiles but has a slightly reduced nominal value since it is not able to deal damage to the opponent's face.
Building Block Golem is a well-balanced card that meets the modern standard of power level. The card allows you to deal damage and summon 3/1 mana creatures after death. Maximum value takes into account the scenario in which the creature survives damage. This is definitely a good card for Arena, but in competitive play players are looking for more broken synergies.
Puppet Master Dorian is very reminiscent of the classic Potion of Illusion spell but is potentially capable of reproducing the effect an infinite number of times. The implementation of card mechanics is very complex. To activate the effect, you must first draw a creature and only after that you will receive an additional copy of the card with the effect separated from the body and a reduced cost. The chance of getting 5 copies this way is unrealistic since your hand is limited to 10 cards. Getting one copy will be much easier. Based on the overall results, we are not sure that such an insignificant probability of obtaining the maximum benefit will make the card competitive.
Wilderness Pack is an analog of the legendary spell Evocation. Your benefit will depend on the number of cards played per turn. You are almost guaranteed to play at least one card, but the likelihood of using all 5 cards is slim. The utility factor is slightly more than 3, which corresponds to the generally accepted standard for 1 mana cards. The remaining pack spells for Warrior and Rogue have similar utility.
Holy Glow Sticks is a copy of the Void Shard spell that received an important improvement that allows it to reduce its cost. With the right strategy, you will most often cast a spell for just 1 mana. Paladin got some really good cards in this mini expansion.
Sock Puppet Slither Spear is similar to Vicious Slither Spear. The card can unexpectedly increase its characteristics due to your hero's attack. It is extremely easy to get a 1 attack bonus. It will be minimal value. We consider an increase to 5 attacks as the maximum value, but the class is definitely capable of increasing its attack by significantly more points. This card has the potential to become the basis for an aggro archetype.
Flickering Lightbot is one of the cards that I hate. Within the framework of a certain strategy, the card can easily reduce its cost. You will rarely have to play it at 3 mana. Moreover, we assume that in at least 40% of games its cost will be free.
Gibbering Reject is a variation of Grim Patron. It will not be difficult for you to summon a second copy of the creature, but also summoning 6 copies of the card looks like a very difficult but realistic task if you use the legendary spell Going Down Swinging in Time. This is potentially a very strong card. Snuggled Teddy is one of the most powerful cards in the mini set. Firstly, it generates a Gigantify version of itself and also has the elusive, taunt and lifesteal keywords. The combination of these mechanics increases the chance of restore at least 2 health points on the next turn, since elusive will not allow the card to be destroyed by most spells and taunt will not allow enemy creatures to ignore this minion.
Product 9 is the reincarnation of Subject 9. Instead of drawing secrets, you recast up to 5 of your secrets that triggered this game. The logic of the effect is reminiscent of Ancient Mysteries, but you pull a secret from your own graveyard, make it 2 mana cheaper and automatically apply it. This is equivalent to 3 mana crystals. You can repeat the effect 5 times. The probability of obtaining maximum value is not so great even in a specific archetype, but at the same time, the probability of minimum value is negligible. In most cases, you will get an average benefit between the 2 scenarios. Thus, the card is 3 times stronger compared to base standards. This will definitely be a key card in Secret Hunter.
Moloch Growfin is a very strong card with predictable value. You are guaranteed to be able to summon 2 units, one of which can turn into 1 damage. In addition, you generate a card in your hand. Also, the creature is able to receive additional benefits from buffs in the hand. For this reason, the utility ratio may be even greater than 4.
Overgrown Beanstalk is a drawer with huge potential that is very similar to Impending Catastrophe. You are guaranteed to draw 1 card in the worst case, but the maximum possible result is 7 cards. In most cases you will get an average value. This 1 card can bring the Trent archetype into play.
Whack-A-Null is an analog of Runes of Darkness but without any conditions for the Paladin. You are guaranteed to get maximum value by choosing a weapon from the past and getting a buff for it. Just a great card.
Here are the results of several cards that were announced the latest.
Now you have a full understanding of the potential power of the new cards. At the next level, the power of the effects of the new cards is very poorly balanced. We have a fairly large number of cards that are initially useless. About a third of the cards are hopeless and we don't understand their function in the game. At the same time, we received quite a lot of cards that can create new strategists and thus increase diversity. There are also cards that are fun to experiment with and look for ways to break the game. Overall, the reveal of new cards gave us positive emotions. I'm glad that a large number of old mechanics will return to the game. I don't feel like the new expansion can compete with the Badlands mini set in terms of impact, but at first glance it's a good set that can increase variety.
Dear viewers, we can't wait to hear your opinion about the new cards. Did you like the returned mechanics? Would you recommend this set for purchase to other players in terms of its potential usefulness for competitive play? Share your thoughts in the comments and join the polls in the community tab.
Traditionally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors.
Dear friends, your help is invaluable. We will be grateful for any support.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.